That's what he thought you were saying.
Yeah, the whole HOLE. Welcome. I'm officially calling this the first episode of the whole Ball of Wax. That's WHOLE. Ball of Wax. I am Andrew Sellers, your host, and with me I have...
Daniel Blazik.
Say what one more motherfucking time.
with commentary from the Peanut Gallery.
Dang. That's a tasty burger.
All right, so I've got my cinnamon horchata, courtesy of Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Dan's got a Stella that's like 2 months old. It's been sitting in my fridge.
I'm not
Keep
sure
looking at my
if
shoes.
it's 3 months old or 3 years old. Either way,
not
it's
that
Stella.
old. Either way, Stella.
Stella, yes.
So, all right.
So you're welcome for that. Yours trumps mine by like infinite.
That's right, because cinnamon, horchata, and a Blue Moon fucking ale is the shit.
But you didn't play the Halo music while you were drinking it, so...
Da-da-da-da.
Yeah, you...
Da-da-da-da. Oh, no, just kidding. We played the, like, angelic... We played Orbit of Glass by Martin O'Donnell. If you want a good time, play Martin O'Donnell's Orbit of Glass. It's off the Halo 2 soundtrack while drinking that beer.
Amazing.
And it's like
I mean,
a
it's
ritual.
already a godly beer, but then it just, it transcends all that we know
No,
and
yeah.
love, hold dearly.
Definitely. All right, so... for my first podcast episode of I'm rebooting. Let's just say I'm rebooting my own series.
Rebooting your own series.
Well, because I started it and then I didn't end
It
up.
was just so good, you had to bring it back.
I had to, and then slap Activision on it and have them distribute. And Robert looks like Django right now. All right, so this is gonna be about video games, and if you don't find this interesting, then stop listening
Just
now.
stop.
And,
Just turn it off.
and
Just
go do something
does
else.
not apply to you.
Gonna get some cold cuts today.
Hold on, I gotta get a picture of Robert.
You
Oh,
look
God
exactly like Django.
He looks a lot like
You
Django.
need sunglasses. You need to be base Django. You can't just be Django.
Yeah, right, definitely. All right, so I've got a couple of main topics. They're all pretty broad stroke, and that's kind of how I want to start it. And then later, as episodes go on, we'll delve into more specific things. Some episodes might even be whole game specific or whatever. But this is sort of overall conceptual sort of a thing. Some economic, some again perception based. Yeah, I just burped. Yeah, what? Deal with it. All right. First, I have video games, entertainment, mind expansion, and super commercialization.
That sounds very. I have to think.
Right.
That one.
Well, and that's the point.
God, really, with the first topic, you're gonna make me think hard.
Yeah. No, we're gonna think.
The hell's
about
wrong with you, man?
It. So Andrew. So, I'm talking to myself.
Damn it!
That's my.
Stop it! That's a bad habit. You need to get out of it.
So.
You're not that important. Stop talking to
I'm
yourself
not
in the
that
third person.
important. You're not important enough to have a podcast or something. All right, so the concept that made me think about this particular thing about like video games as entertainment is how it works in relation to the way it is consumed, created, and overall interpreted versus film or books or plays. And what made me think about it is this article that I read about from Kotaku. It's called "How the Dead Space Saga Lost Its Way," and I'm trying to find. I probably should have prepared this beforehand. Sorry.
Maybe just a bit.
Unprofessional asshole.
Seriously.
Jesus, man. Where's my fucking keyboard?
So excited for this podcast, guys.
Guys.
It's just
You
such
gotta
a good
edit this out,
podcast.
right?
Nope, there's no editing happening. This is just going to fucking be.
Oh, you're just a...
Mm-hmm.
I'm just lazy. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not...
pretty much why you chose to do a podcast as opposed to a video podcast.
Because that shit is so much effort.
Because he has to do editing.
Fucking if you had to do it, you wouldn't.
Well, true, but then...
Well, then... Okay, so here's the quote. In film, a story is told through a series of images and sounds edited together to create meaning. In a novel, a story is told through the placement of words on a page. Theater is the live performance of a story, a sort of happening that takes place in the now. Every medium speaks in its own unique language. In games, stories are told through interaction with a virtual environment, with the unique strength of the medium being gameplay. That sounds really like, and the strength of video games again being gameplay. It sounds like an obvious thing to say if you play.
Right.
But I've never really, like, I like the dissection of saying a movie is this, a play is this, video games are this. When you stack those all up together, they seem very comparable.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really group them in the same, medium, because, I mean, although they are still, visual entertainments, I mean, you really can't summarize it in the same way that you do a movie or a TV show.
Right.
I mean, it's a completely different type of entertainment. They all have their respective pros and cons. But I mean, it's just with gaming, and we talked about this before, where it's the interactive experience too.
Right, again, the gameplay, and that's what I need to remember to tell people. Like, I occasionally, it's mostly internet interactions about people talking about it or whatever, but occasionally I'll meet somebody who's like, well, I don't get the point of video games and whatever. And it's like, well, it's one thing if you don't like it, but occasionally somebody really does knock it and says that, like, they're just a waste of time. And
right. And yeah, there's a huge difference between people. It's like, oh, I don't understand the point of video games as a medium, and then you actually, explain it in an in-depth conversation, and there's like, video games are stupid.
Right, just like, I don't get it. Why is this thing?
I don't get it.
And that's one of those things. It's like, if you, like, what gets me about that is, like, I'm thinking to myself, so you think video games are a waste of time, so you're going to tell me that you are a movie, book, play connoisseur.
Right.
Like, bull. I maybe one of those things you casually enjoy. And again, I get it. Like, video games aren't necessarily productive, but neither is watching a movie. Like, if your thing was watching movies, that doesn't mean you're being productive necessarily. Like,
right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
What's up, Robert?
Question.
I think you guys should talk about the restrictions and the pros and cons of the actual medium of video game toward storytelling as opposed to other mediums.
Oh no, that's later. I have that later for, like, story. It's my third phase of this particular episode called the story of a game and how we fit into it.
Okay, so sorry for busting your nut then.
No.
Damn it, Robert. He has it all planned.
Dang it, Robert. Don't shotgun my nut buzz.
I'm just trying to rub you out.
Damn it, Robert.
That's right. You're just trying to rub me out, bro. I appreciate it. So, but yeah, no. So, that's a good point. I will get to that. But again, it's starting with broad strokes, and then we get to some more finer things. But so the way I interpret it is that video games are most similar to film in that some are an easy ride and they just are, and others actually make you think and feel stuff. The easy ride for me would be like Halo 2, and the thing that made me question how certain things might play out in moral hypothetical aspects of life would be something like The Last of Us.
I was going to say, that's the first thing that came to your mind, Halo 2.
As an easy ride, like, action movie.
Gotcha.
As the easy ride, I just want to have a good time and watch stuff explode.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up, like, Olympus Has Fallen, Transformers type crap. Like, that's all it is. No one played Halo for the fucking story. Like,
yeah, you say that, but it's weird because it's like, okay, you can look at most of the Halo series as, okay, Michael Bay, but with depth. It's
right. You're not wrong.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, there's actual story behind it. If you pay attention to it, the lore behind it, and I've always been interested in lore in video games that's not directly told through the storytelling.
Yeah.
You have to actually fucking think about it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, I've always loved, stories that go into, multiple layers of lore, and Halo is one of them. But then again, yeah, you blow shit up and you shoot things and you have a grand old time.
Right.
So I completely agree with that. And then The Last of Us is the complete polar opposite, maybe.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, granted, it is fun. Like,
right, the core gameplay is still fucking amazing, and I mean, they tuned it to a T. It's not like they just made a story-driven game, and there are plenty of story-driven games with no gameplay.
Like Heavy Rain.
from what I've heard,
I haven't played it, but I've
I
seen
own
the
it.
gameplay.
I own it. Yeah, I've seen the gameplay, and it looks interesting. I'll give it that. I like new things. I'm always open to new things. Beyond Two Souls, I believe, is a good example of that.
Ladies, you hear that? Dan's open to new things.
Hey, heyo.
He means he might eventually play Diablo 3. That's what he actually means by that
I already
statement.
played Diablo 3.
But no, yeah, I haven't actually played Beyond, but that also seems like the same thing. Like, that's actually more character and story driven as opposed to how well can you punch and kick and fire a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. Like, that's cool. Like, I like that exists, that we can have different types of games. And that also comes up later about how gaming has changed. That's the second phase of this.
Yeah.
So there's that. Now this is what I find interesting is that, again, how a lot of people talk about video games as being unnecessary, and they are. They really are. They are a first world privilege. I will never deny that. Like, we do not need video game systems. Computers, arguably, now we kind of have to, because practically half of everything is done through the internet.
Pretty much, yeah. It's funny now that you say that about how every bad thing we've ever looked in a video game is exactly what a first world problem is.
Right, yeah.
It's, if you're complaining about, for a relevant example, Destiny. I mean, if you're, complaining about how it wasn't what it lived up to be, or how, they took away the loot cave so I can't get free guns and shit. Nah, it's like, okay, first world fucking problem. Get over it.
Yep.
It's fucking, menial shit that we don't need to really focus on.
No, right. But I mean, but I will say, conversely, there is something to be said about discussing and evaluating the things that we do have available to us, and that's when it comes to things like evaluating the service of a restaurant, and
right.
if they're courteous, and if they're nice, and if they're prompt and don't mess up your order and stuff. It's kind of the same thing.
On that record, always tip.
Always tip
well.
Always tip your
I'm
waitresses.
I'm not a server, but I mean, just don't be a douchebag. Just tip whoever the fuck is giving you food.
Right.
Food to survive. You need food, and you eat to survive.
Right. So, but this is what gets me. So, kind of like how a lot of people view music, is that, like, yes, it's a pipe dream to want to, like, be a musician and make money off being a musician, but for as it's one of those things that people say about music that it's like, it's not something people should aspire to have as a career because it's so not likely to happen. But then people talk about how much they love music that they'll listen to, and I'm not talking about like Mozart and people who were dead for forever ago and whatever.
Right.
I mean, like, people currently right now. Like, it's one of those things. It's not really. It's kind of a little bit of a double standard, and it's not, I'm not saying it's the same thing with video games, but you can and should attach a certain amount of music to culture. That's part of what makes people different. And something that I like about video games is that some video games are more relevant in some countries than others, and even if they're not, it's a unifying item of culture that creates a new culture. Video games are basically a subculture. Like, we're a bunch of users, and our use is this form of entertainment.
If you've ever just talked about a video game in public, like, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm wearing my Mass Effect jacket, with the N7 logo branded on it. N7 represent. But I was at a Starbucks. I was at a freaking Starbucks, and I'm ordering, my drink, and, the guy making all the drinks stops, the whole rush of what he's doing, and he looks at my jacket and goes, "Really fucking cool, man, where'd you get that jacket?" And then it's just, I stayed, longer than I, should have, and, I'm talking with these guys about not only Mass Effect, but Destiny and Halo, and, all this gaming, and, like, their aspirations to get the next-gen consoles, whatever. And it's just all this gaming, and, like, no conversation would have erupted other than a, "Hi, how are you?" "Oh, I'm fine," and, all that fake shit that you normally do just to be nice, but...
Because Dan secretly hates everyone.
I hate everybody and everything. Why am I even doing this podcast? Yeah. But, I mean, it's just, so easy to, and the same thing with sports, but, I'm not going to get into sports as a gaming podcast. I'm not even going to open that bottle, but it's just so easy to connect with other people over games. It's just such an easy medium to relate to that if you both like the same thing, it's easier to spout conversation, and maybe they'll, turn into friendships with new people. Right,
and something that I actually forgot to add to my notes, but something I was just thinking of, because you, Robert, and Andrew were talking about football. No one says anything, not really, about, well, all these people, they do, their main thing is they watch football and sports and whatever. why is that any more acceptable than video games? If anything,
Right.
playing video games is more active than watching a football game because you're making the action happen in a video game.
That's that's a can of worms. That's
No, I know, and again, it's just a touch. It's just
Right, I got
skim
you.
the surface.
I got
But
you.
that's just something that I like to think about.
For the record, I am the expert in sports here, and I'm talking with someone who. How do you evaluate your level in sports knowledge? Is it really like retarded level, or is it like just slightly above? And I'm being nice
Nope.
here.
No comment. Let's move on. So there's that. So it's,
do them like that, damn.
jeez, man. Everyone's listening. Who's like, who are these people? Why does anyone care? So something else that I like to think about is about how it has expanded how we think about certain things, and particularly about products and entertainment. In that new skills have been created and new jobs have been created. The overall industry of video games has expanded phenomenally since the first generation of consoles. I actually looked this up today. I didn't realize we are in the 8th generation.
It's not until you said it earlier that I was like, really, 8th?
It's 8th, and I looked it up, and at least according to Wikipedia, which I fucking hate using, but I didn't feel like spending more time on looking it up. I should have, but whatever.
In the saving of time, we used Wikipedia for this.
Yep, because I'm stupid, but whatever. This I did know was that the first video game console. We're just gonna go consoles at this point because PCs are talk about a can of worms.
Yes, seriously.
The first console was the Magnavox Odyssey, which is based on the Brown Box. The idea for the Brown Box came in the 50s. The Magnavox came to us in the 70s. We are currently in the 8th generation. That's Wii U, X1, PS4, PS Vita, and 3DS.
Now they have a new 3DS, so I'm not even sure.
Yeah, the 3DS XL. Well, that's still...
Well,
and
not even
officially-
3DS XL. Now they have a new 3DS and a new 3DS XL, which is literally, it's in the title. It is
God.
patented new 3DS with a second joystick, more back buttons, so triggers, and it's more they improved the 3D, so you can view it at multiple sides without it having a weird effect on your eyes.
Dang.
So they really improved it, but it's like, okay, they made DS, then DS XL, then 3DS, then 3DS XL, and now the new 3DS where they added another little button, and it's God, can you even call that like the 3DS last generation because they made another fucking one?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's still...
It's
Well, because again, 8th generation started in 2011.
Oh God, I feel old.
Yeah. Well, except we're not as old as the Magnavox Odyssey, so be thankful for that.
Thank God. Oh my God.
So there's that. As a small tidbit, I looked up a list of games that were available on the Magnavox Odyssey.
Oh God.
And they are as follows: baseball, brainwave, Simon Says, table tennis, Win.
Win?
There was a game called Win, like a
Win?
cartridge game called Win.
Is that
No.
an acronym for something? Or
No,
just
that
Win?
was listed as Win.
What
Now-
the fuck is that?
I don't even know. Like, I imagine it's like just Charlie Sheen. like just like saying shit. I don't know. So there's that. But no, my favorite, Dogfight. One word.
Dogfight.
One word.
Dogfight.
I don't even know. I don't even know, dude. I don't even know.
Was it like a tribute to Michael Vick? Like,
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. So there's that. And so thinking about that, about the span of time that is, again, from actual available consumer production from 1972 to now, which is 2014, it started as just a product to be consumed. And now it's, again, it really has become more than just a bunch of new skills needed and new ideas. It's a whole nother industry that has become an entirely different animal, where we have press conferences and panels. These press conferences are a huge deal. They treat this like they're announcing the next space shuttle to Mars. Like they
pretty
just
much. Maybe even more popular. I'd
God,
say more
yeah,
people
oh my
would show up
God.
to packs than I would show up to the next space shuttle launch. I guarantee it.
At the very least feels that way.
They should seriously, NASA is trying to pay people to attend their fucking space shuttle launch.
Well,
and
they don't need to do. They just need to put a PS4 on the space shuttle and have them play.
Or make it shaped like a PS4.
Like the Eraser.
I don't care if it's non-aerodynamic. I just want it to look like a fucking next-gen game console. Then I'll come watch it. Build it like a PS4. Take notes, NASA.
Jeez, you're missing a total niche audience there. Come on. Right there. And I just, it's nuts. It's nuts to think about how much that business has changed and how I bet no one had predicted that this is the way it was going to be.
Nobody in their right minds.
Right. And all these things that went into it, that it was I attribute that overall shift from again, this thing that people casually do to play Pong and dogfight, to what we do now, where I've been plugging way too many hours into Destiny because I can, is because of three things: the progress in hardware, software, and concepts. Concepts being both the mechanics of gameplay and the ideas of gameplay, which we'll get into a little bit later. But it's to me, I identify those three things as being the main reasons why things have become the way they are, and I don't have empirical evidence to support that or whatever, but
yeah.
I don't really consider that an opinion. That's my observation of facts, is things are this way because.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that.
So what I was thinking about is what negative aspects have come with this particular kind of change, because Pong is this really innocent thing. Again, it is 100% pure entertainment. It's the same reason. Right. It's the same reason why you play pool or darts or anything anything like that, or basketball, whatever. It was something to do. So again, I thought to myself, what are those negative aspects that come with the change?
And what do you got?
Phase 2 I have is the death of Blockbuster, pre-orders, DLC, and unfinished games.
This'll be fun.
This is actually a fairly short section, but there's a lot to talk about.
Fairly short
about it. The first section was way bigger.
Oh shit! You just said DLC and you made it short. Is that possible?
Yeah. Again, these are broad strokes, man.
Well, to make it longer, we need to purchase the DLC. So for the podcast, you need to purchase the extra-length features.
No. First you have to pre-order, which gives you certain early access items, and then you order the DLC, which doesn't come until 6 months after the game's out. And then we can talk about it. And then we can talk about it in entirety. Then that's a full discussion.
Okay. Yeah, and if you pre-order, the pre-order bonus is a Sellers and Blazik wallpaper, exclusive wallpaper for your desktop. I mean, it is we have both of our shirts off, pants optional. So it's a little risque, but I mean, it's worth the pre-order. Only $99.99.
It's worth it.
Yeah, so worth it. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
So the first thing that I was thinking about how things that changed the gaming industry, an observation that I made was the death of Blockbuster, and I will also add parenthetical Hollywood Video.
Wow, holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a thing. That was totally a thing.
That was a thing. For a long time.
I used to love that place.
Oh, it was the best. It was the best. They had way better deals. They didn't have quite the selection that Blockbuster had, but their prices were cheaper. So were their game rentals. The game rentals were cheaper and longer.
God, Blockbuster, I'll let you lead into that one, because Blockbuster still amazes me to this day how long it lasted. And even if it's final days of death, they were still trying to charge like $6 for a fucking DVD rental.
Yeah,
like it's amazing how they refuse to just accept their fucking fate and just go down and become a fossil.
Well, and again, I bring up why that changed things, not just for movies but for games. I made this connection just today thinking about it. So at least for me growing up, I was born in 91. I'm 23.
Likewise.
Whoop. Yeah.
Class of 2009. Whoop whoop.
I grew up with Blockbuster and Hollywood Video being my options to see a movie that I either didn't see in theaters or couldn't see or whatever. And then there were games. Now, at the time, it was, you want to play a game, you rent that shit first.
Yep.
Like you read, like why would you not? Why would you go out and buy a game you know nothing about? Now, granted, keep in mind this is pre-internet, pre-gameplay, all that stuff.
Pre, videos of gameplay released at E3 and stuff like that.
No E3.
Right before E3, it's pre-E3.
We had
to go on was word of mouth and trying it for your fucking self, and that's what you did.
And maybe reading something in Game Informer about it and hoping that it matched up with what it was you were expecting.
Maybe, possibly.
And even then, that still meant renting the game. So I'd go out and I'd rent a game, and I'd play the crap out of it. I'd make sure to rent it on a Friday. So that
anything in particular that comes to mind that you rented from Blockbuster, you're like, holy shit, this is amazing.
The first game I ever rented was the Spider-Man game for PlayStation 1.
The original Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I had such a good time with it that I got as far as I could with the game, and then the day I returned it, I like while playing it, did a ton of chores to get the money to buy it because I wanted this game so bad, and I still have it. It's still playable, which I'm very proud of.
Oh wow!
And it makes me think I really want to play it now. It's so.
Just stop the podcast. Just hold it off here.
Yeah. Pause. I'll be back in 8 days.
Maybe.
It's such a good time, and I had a really good time with it, and it was great. My parents were very proud of the fact that it was what was the thing I wrote down? Drive then buy. You don't buy the car before you drive it.
Right.
And that was the mentality at the time. And
that seems to be a lost thing now. It's like,
oh, definitely. And again, I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So what happened at Blockbuster was Redbox. It was a knife to the chest and a slow twist. And it
extremely painfully slow twist.
Holy crap. It took a while because people were like, I don't know about this Redbox thing, and what about their selection? And yes, their selection is much smaller, but what they would do is they'd pick, I'm sure through some amount of metadata and surveying and whatever, they'd find out what majoritively people wanted to see most and pick that.
Right. If you go to a Redbox, I mean, you're not going to find every movie ever.
No, and
available for rent. You go for it's the most popular shit, and that's
right.
a smart way to advertise.
Right. That is what mattered because it was their way of getting rid of Blockbuster. Not only through that, but majoritively through basically $1 rentals, and that to me was very. I didn't avoid Redbox. I just didn't care. And then when I heard that it was so cheap...
Yeah, when it was new to us, I mean, back in the beginning days of Redbox, I mean, it was just like, okay, that's a thing. I'm not against it, but I'm not like, racing to the fucking, Redbox to get my $1 DVD. Oh my God. But it's, it's amazing how much of a... Not just a knife stab and twist. I mean, like, they chopped off his fingers.
Yeah.
And, they just made it a slow, painful saw-like death.
Yes.
That completely destroyed it, and I've never seen another company just like completely
demolish.
Yeah, for lack of a better word. Yeah, it was disgusting what it was.
No, yeah, it's true. They killed him. It was just a slow put down. It was
with great value. I mean, I support Redbox, but holy crap.
Oh yeah, Redbox isn't a scam. Blockbuster would charge the crap out of you for late fees and all this other crap.
Hell yeah.
And at least with Redbox, like you keep it another day, whatever. It's another $1.30 or whatever. Like so
something.
What?
You go to Blockbuster, it's 15 minutes late. That'll be $9.99. But
right.
The DVD rental was $2.
Right. Like,
yeah,
oh my God.
Now it's $29.99 for back talk, sir. They weren't nice either. I'll add that. The Blockbuster employees, they hated their lives.
Well, that's because it was
every other option was taken. People would rather be homeless than work at Blockbuster.
Well, it's because it was a shitty job. Like, could
Some homeless people did work at Blockbuster.
They're like, you can send my check to a P.O. box.
Literally, a P.O. box. An actual box that has P.O. on it.
It's just the letters P.O.
like
written on a cardboard box.
It's like they've got it taped to like a FedEx drop-off box. Like, hey, it's here. It's on the corner of, Franklin and Roosevelt.
Blockbuster, equal opportunity employers.
You have a beard and you smell like crap, that's fine. Everyone hates us anyway.
It's not just fine, it's accepted and proud of it, damn it.
But so something I didn't really realize, and I don't know, I have no idea how I didn't figure it out at the time. Maybe it's because I borrowed from friends or something, but it killed our ability to regularly rent. And I will say, like, there is something to be said about like the use of GameFly. Although I've never known a soul to actually spend the money on GameFly. I've never known anyone.
Again, on paper, I mean, and I watch the commercials, and as cheesy as they are, I mean, it's so. It looks like a fucking good deal.
It's actually, if you use it, it's a brilliant idea. $10 a month for unlimited amount of games, one game at a time.
And you just send them back one after the other. You could play literally 20 games in a month, and it's still, you don't get excess charges, and it's just, it keeps going.
Yep.
And that's great.
And if you get a copy of the game and it's like mint condition, and you like it so much that you want to keep it,
they have options to buy.
You can buy it, and they'll send you the game box.
Right.
They
follow up with that shit. They have the hookup. They have the manual. They have it all pristine and shit.
And that's great. But somehow, and again, I'm gonna get to why in a sec. Somehow, my brain skipped that, and I went, "Nah, I'm good."
And as amazing as a deal as it sounds, I know nobody who fucking uses GameFly. Nobody.
Right. I've never known anybody, and so. What I thought of was, like, the keynote in this thought was, even though we can still rent games, I don't know if GameFly is still a thing. I probably should have looked that up. But so sure. So it's still a thing. So though we can still rent games, the gaming industry has convinced us that we don't. And not even directly. They don't say don't rent a game. They wouldn't. That wouldn't make sense as a tactic.
They politely suggest it. It's they don't directly say it
through pre-orders, which again I'll get to in phase 3. but through pre-orders,
the plot thickens.
Oh right, well, because and that also leads to what I call hot air hype. It's it's just a shit ton.
Is that
of
your
talking.
own term? Or?
Yeah, that's something that I came up with. I don't know if somebody else said that, but that's something I came up with.
I like it.
It's a ton. Thank you. It's a lot of talk. It's a lot of talk. It's not even necessarily bad hype, but it's making as much noise as possible to make everyone pay attention.
Well, remember the saying, I mean, no press is bad press, you know what I mean? That's another argument for sane people. But I mean, it has some merit if you think about it in broad sense.
Some merit for celebrities, not for video games.
I just say, GameFly currently has 1.3 million fans on Facebook.
1.3 million fans on Facebook
wow.
for GameFly.
2,100 people are currently talking about it, including YouTube.
And I don't know one of those 1.3 fucking million.
Right,
people.
right.
I hope I might pop on my laptop and see if there's any common threads there.
Right. Thank you for that, Robert. I should keep you on as the data miner and just be in the background and pull out random facts that we don't know.
Seriously.
Andrew. Angel is a fan of GameFly.
Is that the angel I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Oh God. Sorry, personal moment. Continuing on with the podcast. It gets me that's the thing, and I realized that they got to that point by changing it, by very slowly molding our mentalities to being excited about something before it came out. Previously, it was you heard about it, again, occasionally through Game Informer or whatever. But you got excited about it once it was out. You couldn't do anything about it once it was out. But then pre-orders come along.
Yes.
And you need to get on that right now because everyone else is going to be on it. And you should be in on it the day it comes out because that's the thing to do because all of your friends are going to have it and you should.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Right. And that's... Oh, God. It's so... It's brilliant.
I feel you.
It's brilliant as a strategy, as a marketing strategy.
If you're in marketing, you look at that and you go, "Well done, sir."
Right.
But I mean, for us, the fans of it, it's oh God, it's just you look at it in retrospect, and it's so. What's the word you want to use there? It's so
detrimental.
Yeah. I mean, it's just.
Let's go with
that. yeah.
It makes me at a loss for words. I'm so emotional. Oh my God! That's a good point.
No, I just again, it's another thing I was thinking about today when I was trying to think about my observations on the gaming industry and how it's changed.
And for the record, I just want to throw out before we get off the subject of Blockbuster. I remember the only good memory I have from Blockbuster is I bought. I got a gift for a late birthday present. I remember I was there with my mom. I was 11 or 12. and she got me Final Fantasy X.
Nice.
Yeah, and I had no idea what Final Fantasy was. I'd never played one before. I mean, rage as much as you want for the Final Fantasy fans fucking listening to this. Rage as much as you fucking want. I don't give a shit. Final Fantasy X is the best in the series, and it was my first Final Fantasy.
So your mom just took a shot in the dark and was like,
a shot in the dark.
My kid's gonna like this.
Because I thought the box art looked cool. And that's the only premise I went on.
Oh.
I had no idea what it... I'd never played like a true RPG. This was my first Japanese game. My first JRPG ever. And I played it and I loved every fucking minute of it. The story. And sorry, I know this is off topic, but holy shit. I mean, like, that's the only thing Blockbuster ever did for me.
Well, but that's something...
Which just exposed me to maybe the greatest game franchise of my life. And, you know, RPGs as a whole. But continue. Yeah.
And it's... Well, and actually, just as a side note, granted, it's definitely not a good thing to judge a book by its cover, because obviously that, you know, what a game's cover looks like doesn't necessarily tell to how fun it might be for you, but...
Right.
There is something to be said about casually perusing physical boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's very different than just hearing about it on the internet. Although I will say what I'm the biggest fan of is gameplay. Trailers can eat me. I think they're a waste of time. They can eat it. It's all about gameplay. I only care about gameplay, and even then I've learned that's not necessarily a 100% promise.
Nothing ever will be. I mean, because it's all relative, and I know you know that.
Well, no, and again, that's gonna be in phase 3. I've got more on that.
God damn, you have this all planned from the beginning.
Yeah, dude. I got.
Do you know what I'm gonna say before I say it?
No.
Did you have that? Is all of this in a fucking script?
Yeah.
No.
This is
Everything
secrets
I
out.
know.
Secrets out. This is a scripted show.
Oh God.
We're just really good actors and have all of our lines memorized to make it sound really realistic.
Yes, I mean, thank you, Andrew Sellers.
Flip to page 2.
It's only page 2.
It's page 2 of 20.
I'm using scrolls, bro. I knew you were gonna say that too.
Writing margins and shit.
So there's that. But you know, again, back to the point about marketing. I think that's another thing that changed, not just the industry, not just gaming. I'm sure it's probably affected other forms of marketing, but it's changed marketing in this really interesting way. In that, I want to say in probably 3 ways. One, that each marketing campaign is specific to this individual unit. Say it's a game that's multi-platform. Let's not talk about exclusives. Just it's a multi-platform. So let's say Xbox One and PS4. They're advertising just the game, not a particular console.
Right.
That is something really super particular. It's not like... I mean, it's kind of similar to like if mac and cheese came out, like Kraft came out with white cheddar mac and cheese for the first time, and then that's what they're advertising. It's kind of like that, but that's not like like that's level 1. It's a very unique.
You're just making me fucking hungry,
project.
you bastard. Now I want some mac and cheese.
Well,
now you are obliged to provide me white cheddar mac and cheese.
I am obligated to do nothing. Yeah. So there's that it's a very particular unique object. It's not just a or product, I should say. It's not just a this is a PS4. Buy the PS4 because it's like this exact game. And then it's that there's a hype to it. They want to make an acceptable amount of hype. And you don't have to hype mac and cheese because everyone everyone fucking likes that shit.
Everyone fucking loves mac and cheese. If you don't love mac and cheese,
you're lactose.
Just turn it off now.
No, you're lacking. You might be. What about all the people who are lactose intolerant, dude?
That's a good point. Fuck. I never thought of that.
Well,
okay, to those people, I am sorry for the offense.
Just take some lactate
For people
pills.
who aren't lactose intolerant and hate mac and cheese, there's something mentally wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear they have a pill for that.
They do.
I don't know. So there's that, and then the third thing. Now this is what I find interesting, that's particularly unique to video games, and I would say movies, is that the marketing is in a finite timeline.
Yes.
Like once the game's out, there's only a certain amount of time in which the game is going to be talked about by the developers and distributors.
Yeah.
And
no, you got a point there, yeah.
And then at a certain point, it just will fall off.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And that's really interesting to me to think about how they have to optimize. They really have to. I don't know what goes into it, but they must go nuts thinking about all the stuff that they want to do to try and do more than just spread the word, but to hook people in a limited space of time. You don't have for forever.
Yeah.
And you can't go back and make changes to stuff. Again, like a food product, like mac and cheese. Like if you got feedback that the white cheddar mac and cheese was too thick, that the powder needed to be changed, or whatever, from consumer feedback, you could change it, but still continue to sell that product improved.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of can't do that with a video game. Not really.
No. Yeah, you can't.
You can update it, but even then, that doesn't necessarily, like... That doesn't fix a bad game. That can just fix broken things in a game. But I'm also going to get into that.
Yeah, broken games is another can of worms I want to get into, but I mean, that's another topic.
Yeah, well, but again, that's also partially in Phase 3.
God damn.
So there's
everything.
That. Yep, there's that. And so again, what gets worse about it is once they've got you hooked through TV. I saw a TV ad for Destiny.
Yeah, to be fair, it was fucking awesome.
No, great, and that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Destiny. Destiny's a good time, but I don't watch TV. Like, the few times I watch TV is when my parents are watching it upstairs, and I'm passing through the room. I have I don't sit down and watch television. I don't do it. I watch shows.
Was it really that much of a surprise with knowing the budget they invested in Destiny that they had a live action TV commercial? Really?
See, I saw that on YouTube, so I thought that was an internet-based thing, because internet-based marketing
that's fair.
Reaches
which a lot of people are doing, because I mean, there's no point in making TV ads for certain games.
Well, not necessarily no point.
There's very little.
It makes more sense to put it on YouTube.
Because it's just our generation.
It's cooler. It's easier. I feel like less I'm watching an ad and more like when an ad's really good, like. The Halo ODST ad is probably one of my favorite advertisements ever.
Oh my God,
because it's practically a short film.
Yes.
And, correction, it is. I'm going to call it that.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And granted the Destiny live action isn't a short film, but it's still a good time. It has the sort of, like, rough and tumble fun that Halo 2 had. It kind of feels that way. They've got the goofiness with it. Like, Venus! Like, that good stuff. But that I was a little taken back by that. So there's they're through TV and YouTube and Facebook, game pages post all this crap on Facebook, and it's great. Like when they talk about patch notes and stuff. But
every game has to have a Facebook page now.
God, I swear, movies too. For crap's sake.
Movies, people within the movies.
Yeah.
People who support the people within the movies. I mean, they're people. Their people have Facebook pages.
Yes.
It's just a long fucking degrading tree of Facebook pages that nobody gives a flying fuck about.
Right. Again, unless Facebook pages actually give you real information. Again, like the Destiny page talks about patch updates, which I'm okay with. That's cool. I'm okay with that.
Information. I'm all for it.
That saves me. Like I can see that info on my news feed and just click that link to take me to Bungie's site, as opposed to me going through the effort to
instead of just constant posts about what's your favorite Destiny moment, what's your favorite Clash.
Well, that drives me crazy. That crap. Like I get it. That's them getting
like and subscribe.
Yeah, that's them. Please like and subscribe to see more videos. Like
that's a perfect fucking voice. I gotta give props for you. Holy shit!
I've been working on that one for a while.
Yeah, you were gonna. Okay. Yeah, that was really good. That blew me away. Don't mind my wet spot in my pants. Just keep going.
So there's that. So again, another thing I was thinking of is that once they've got you hooked, a pre-order is not enough. We must plan the DLC. It's no longer like Halo 2. The first, personally, there's probably something before this, but my experience, the first DLC I was aware of was the map expansion disc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for any of you who don't know what I'm talking about, shame on you, but I'll explain very quickly. It was a disc that contained multiplayer maps. This was pre-DLC being bought on Xbox Live. That was not a concept
before they called it DLC, before it was a thing known as the beast that is DLC.
They called it was simply a multiplayer expansion pack. That's what it was. And I was all for it. It was like $10 or something. It was hella cheap, or maybe it was 20 or whatever. I was all over it because I was like, whoa, more maps. Hell yeah. I was way over that. You installed it once, boom, you were done. And what's funny is I made my money back on it because I loaned out the disc for $5 to each person who wanted to use it. I'm not. You know me, dude. I was a hustler.
You're a maniac genius.
I was.
Is what you are. God,
I got another story.
I'm not pissed at the idea. I'm pissed that I didn't think of it when I was that young.
I was such a little shit like that.
God,
I got on a future podcast episode. I'll definitely talk about
your investment and then some.
I'll talk about my racketeering that I did with and my opportunistic bullshit when I was a kid. I've told you about with both Pokemon card and Pokemon game in-game Pokemon trading that I did because I was such a hustler with. I didn't cheat people, but I just knew how to get what I wanted.
The nerdiest fucking hustler on the planet.
Oh yeah.
You were wearing the long leather coat and everything. You were just making everyone believe that you were the guy.
I was born of Game Boy Color.
Yes.
I have my own cartridge. So that, it drives me nuts that now, and I'm thinking about things like Titanfall, Destiny, Shadow of Mordor. I'm just saying these things for the sake of being relevant. I know there are a million other examples of this. I'm just going with what's relevant right now, and is freshest in my mind. That before the game's out, guess what? There's DLC.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's bullshit.
Can we? DLC used to be a like, hey, guess what? We came up with some new ideas,
and
way
again,
after the fact, and we want to bring those ideas to you.
Yeah, again, when you can pre-order the season pass, which a lot of people are doing now, before the actual fucking game, are you shitting me?
Like the new Alien game. Whatever that's called. I don't know if it's Alien Isolation, I think. But you could pre-order the DLC before the game.
Robert, make yourself useful. Look up the latest Alien game that's coming out. It's Alien : something. We just don't know what the fuck the second word is.
I forget. But it gets... This is what I wrote out to myself earlier. DLC is a cash-grabbing, opportunistic industry conceit.
Okay.
It is. That's what it is. And by industry conceit, I mean like how supervillains are an industry conceit to superheroes. Mm-hmm. The hero needs a villain to fight. Right. So it is a creation that exists unto that form itself. To me, DLC was created, except what's worse is villains are necessary. They don't exist in real life. But they are necessary for that medium, not in the way that we're thinking.
Okay.
Like Dan, for the record, it is not Alien semicolon. It's Alien colon.
That's what I said.
No, you said semicolon.
No, we'll check the recording.
Colon.
We'll check the recording.
I said colon.
We'll check later.
I said colon.
Whatever. What is it?
Alien colon. Isolation.
It is isolation. No
okay,
shit.
It is isolation. Okay. All right, cool. And it just...
Thank you, Robert.
Colon!
Dynamite.
I said colon.
What gets me about it is that it's not a necessary... it's not a necessary creation. We don't need it. It's a cool idea, but they charge an arm and a leg for it.
God, they're gonna get to the point where it's a literal arm and a leg.
Chop off your left thumb to get this. I
know that sounded like a joke, but I'm fearful for that future.
No.
Of okay, you have to you give off one finger per expansion pack, and just the season pass is okay, left hand, you don't need that shit anymore. You jack off with your right anyway, so I mean you're fine. Do you really need both hands? No. Then that's what they're gonna sell people on.
Right. No, you know what? I'm mostly joking about this. But I was saying this to Andrew a couple days ago over Facebook. The future I'm fearful of is not that DLC will eventually become the same price as the game. I don't think that would ever happen. That wouldn't make sense. People would then stop buying DLC. I don't think anything quite that extreme. Just think about options in my head.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm afraid of is. Pre-order the DLC, get the DLC first, play the DLC first, and then you get the game later. Eventually, we talk more about the DLC and how the game is a side dish and the DLC.
I was going to say,
so
they switch roles where the DLC is the game, and the game is the DLC. Oh my god, that's horrible.
Just eventual role reversal, because you know how much the Destiny season pass is, if I remember right?
How much?
It's like $25.
Which is
like $25 or $35.
Which it's scary that the first thought that popped in my head is that's reasonable.
Oh no! And that's right. And see, that's what I'm saying. The game industry is still changing our brains about it. You know how they do it? It's like what we want as gamers is a really great experience. Phase 3. Will be in a moment. Phase 3. What we want is a great experience. We'll talk about what makes that. But what we want is that. And in our heads, if we're missing out on a good experience.
Yeah.
And they go, here's more content. You want it? You don't need it. You don't, bro, you don't gotta buy it. But do you want it?
I will add to that in saying, okay, so you were talking about, the map expansion and what it was, and it was just an exciting thing that people weren't used to. Whoa, you did not just almost drop the cinnamon horchata.
I
God
almost
ale.
spilled the cinnamon horchata.
Oh man, I just had a big panic moment there.
It's all right.
Okay, but you saved it.
Yeah,
it's all
it's
good.
good.
You didn't spill the drop. Okay.
Nope.
Okay, we're all good to go. But anyway, and my whole thing is when I'm looking at map packs and my personal examples are Halo and Gears of War.
Oh yeah.
And whenever they come up with map packs, and again, first of all, it's sad that it's expected. Like they do add a good amount of maps within the meta game, and I love what they do with the maps. And then it seems like they make maps that was intended for the actual game, and then they just why don't we just put those off to the side and sell them separately,
right?
Just to put an extra $1 in their pocket,
right.
But I mean, what you were just saying about how they're enticing you, like you don't need it, but do you want it? It's also knowing that everyone else, based off of that, will buy it. So it's like another map pack with the whole. Okay, I'm gonna buy this eventually because it seems like I'm forced to in order to enjoy it. You don't know how many select playlists there are. Whenever Halo released a new map pack, it was like, okay, you couldn't play this playlist with your friends because you don't have the DLC they do.
And that is the shittiest thing. That is so bad. I think that is so evil. Like, don't do that. Stop.
Right. Stop.
You're already making money. You're already making so much money.
You were beating that money horse to death.
Right.
And it had a calf, and you're beating that calf to death. Like, just stop it.
It's so... it drives me crazy. So there's that. And what's worse is I feel like DLC is making it even more acceptable to make a game that's not done. The thing that I came up with that I feel like is the attitude of almost everybody is, let's plan what we're going to do, but who cares if we don't deliver a complete game? Because we're going to make money regardless. Because people are going to buy it regardless. You're not... It's not like, oh, hey, the game's not quite done yet, so you only got to pay $47.22. And you can pay the rest when we finally fix the rest of the shit. It's no... It doesn't matter if we deliver a game that still needs a ton of work, because guess what? People are going to buy it.
Yeah.
And that sucks, and I hate that.
That's the most deserving of the sassy because I mean it's just it's such a buzzkill for gamers, because I mean there's so many games, and I mean Destiny is an example. I mean Mass Effect 3 with its ending is an example.
Yeah, well,
they look at downloadable content. Even granted, it was free downloadable content. Even though it was free, that's not the point. The point being that they can make a product and then just kind of cover up their mistakes with extra shit later. Back in the day, and to go back to the expansion disc, it was an expansion of the original game. Now we have patchwork DLC, which is like, and I know you don't play Dark Souls, but I mean for any Dark Souls fans out there, that compatibility packs are just fucking ridiculous. I needed to download a gig's worth of data in order to play with anybody online.
Oh my god, a gig.
A gig.
Andrew's shaking his head like hell no.
Right, and it's ridiculous. And I tried to stop the download, and I'm like, can I just play the game? I don't need this shit. And it's like, no,
you gotta.
You gotta. You want to play with people? You gotta.
To be fair, I will say patches that fix a patch that is intended to fix broken things, I think, are important and necessary.
Yeah, but I'm getting to the whole point of, and for the record, Dark Souls is one of my favorite series of all time, but. And my whole point is that there are so many DLC patches, and there are so many bought for content, not even just free content, like the Mass Effect 3 ending DLC. I'm talking about stuff you pay for that kind of overrides what they already did and kind of makes you forget about it as if it should have been included to fucking begin with, you know?
Right.
And it's like, downloadable patches are an excuse for developers to release unfinished games. It's short and simple. And I'm not saying, I'm not shitting on every developer out there, because there are time constraints that are out of their hands.
Even then,
though, it's like they'll release a product they know needs work, and they're like, expect before the game's out. Just like the DLC argument, they're like, expect the patch within 3 weeks' time. We're working on it, guys.
Day one,
you know, it's
day one of Destiny. Day one. Oh, there's a patch. 1.0.1.
the first
day.
First day.
Can you not? So and that's you perfectly segued into my final points here for phase 2, is that some games do require fine-tuning, constant fine-tuning. Destiny always will, and I'm okay with that. Granted, they do have a ton of stuff to fix, but there are other things that do need to be fixed that they didn't realize would be broken, like the range of shotguns, etc. League of Legends, etc. There's stuff where the meta will always be in flux. That's fine. But others start broken to meet deadlines.
Yeah.
And the bottom line takeaway that I got out of this thought process was stories suffer from deadlines. Not always. But Halo 2 did. I know for a fact it did. And anybody who watches the special has watched, I should say,
that
the special
final
features. Not even the final level. There's one thing that would have made everything about the Covenant's motivation so perfectly clear. That they cut out. Like 6 minutes of cutscene or something. They cut out. It's too much. was the what are they called? I'm blanking on what they're called. The prophets, truth, mercy, and regret. They were explaining to the arbiter about how the prophets, when they were in like their youthful stage and not in their floaty wheelchairs, they fought with the elites. They were enemies, and then they made peace after war, and then they discovered the rings, which they misinterpreted as being the Great Journey and whatever. Like, you see their lore carved out in these stone tablets, and they go about explaining it in sort of verse. It doesn't rhyme, but it's just really good in explaining, like, their culture. You get culture without having to read one of the Halo books. and it would have been great. It would have explained what the hell the Covenant was doing. You only get it through bits and pieces.
Blarg, alien, blarg.
Yeah. Oh, like that's all you. Like,
you murder our children.
Right? Like, yeah. Like you. I'm like, no, I didn't. Wait. Oh, I did. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Like you didn't know any of that, and if they explained that just a little bit, and they outright say, I forget I'm blanking on the man's name who wrote Halo. Before game directors were a thing, if there was a game director, it was this guy who wrote the first two.
Game director,
right? He wrote him. I'm totally blanking on his name. I can see his face. Can't think of his name.
Robert.
He said.
I'm not doing this.
He said, "Well, we wanted to include."
On your own.
He's like, we wanted to do this, but we ran out of time and. But whatever. I was like, you ran out of time, my ass. You spent 24 months, I think they said, in solid regular development with the stuff. I'm like,
wow.
Granted, 2 years is pretty standard, but I'm like, it was a little bit of time. It wasn't like you were I don't know, whatever. But that's a thing. So that's just one example of stories that suffer from deadlines. So phase 3, trying to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. This is the shortest bit. These are just super broad strokes without going super deep,
but the most epic.
Yeah, the story of a game and how we fit into it. So,
oh man, I can hardly wait.
Tell
me what I'm gonna say, Andrew.
Yeah. So I started thinking about Andrew Whiting's like, what? I started by thinking of like, what were games then? Back in the day, they were skill and puzzle based. They were Pong,
Pac-Man.
They were Pac-Man,
Centipede.
Wait, what'd you say? Zelda. Was it even before that? Before that.
Before the original
even before
Zelda.
That.
Even before that.
like tabletop games like Zelda,
arcade
like 2D
games. You didn't see Link to the Past and arcade.
Right.
You didn't take turns with the kids. You got the sword. Okay, your turn's over. Fucking
next
quarter.
Right. Even before that, like pure stuff. Again, baseball emulators and hockey emulators again, and Pong and crap. Huh? It's Tetris is on my list. Crap like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then it started to become, and is now, these aren't necessarily the only three, but three major things I can think of why we play video games is because of context and or time-based strategy. Context-based strategy being what gun do you use when you're playing in Halo? When do you use a shotgun? When do you use a sniper? The context of the situation deems that. Time-based strategy being League of Legends.
Yeah.
Your build of your character changes from beginning to end.
That's an entire science or so I've heard.
Basically is. And again, that's a time-based strategy. StarCraft 2, etc. PvP, online gameplay, has made a thing by Halo 2. And campaigns, and as I like to say, campaigns that change the world.
Yeah.
Conversely, there are I didn't come up with enough shitty points for the side, but conversely, one of the points I thought of, again, just light touch on it, a bad side of that gaming now is that I've come to see more times than not that games of 3 games or more as a franchise have some of the thinnest stories ever. Halo still falls victim to that.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
really?
Yeah. The first Halo, you just jump in. There's never an introduction to the world.
You got a point. To a point. It's weird to say that.
No, right. Again, I don't... sorry, here, go. I'm sorry.
No, I that was pretty much my point. It's just like, okay, it's all case dependent because, I mean, there are huge arguments that, okay, I guarantee you there's no middle ground for the story behind Assassin's Creed. The whole arc in that, I mean, there are people for it and going, okay, this is a really well thought out thing and it's very elaborate and, you know, all the character, blah, blah, blah. And then there are people going, what the fuck's going on? I just want to stab people and this story is shit. You know, it's like... It's all dependent on the trilogy you're talking about. And the same thing with Halo. A lot of people, and myself included, and I'm kind of on the fence because, you know, some of the story elements really make no fucking sense.
Nope.
Because they don't really dive into it with, you know, maybe an extra cutscene or two would have helped fill the necessary bridges.
Yep.
But, I mean, there are so many things about the Halo universe that are worth exploring. And it's like,
yeah.
okay, this is so... It's well put together and, you know, like an orchestra piece, you know? And, you know...
Martin O'Donnell.
Yeah. Shout out to Martin O'Donnell. Get a job soon, man. We love you.
I swear to God.
God, we love you.
That's another topic. For
seriously. Oh God, that could be a long topic.
That could be a whole episode.
Seriously. But anyway, but I mean, there's always going to be people for and against certain stories. However, there are some that are just... God, I'm trying to think of a really good example of it. But I mean, I know there are some trilogies, you know, quintilogies, if that's a thing. I think it's a word. If not, it's now one. But I mean, it's, you know, that they just don't make sense, and you play them for the gameplay, and the story is just so they can say they have a campaign.
Sure.
So it's all, you know, I mean, that was my entire point. Is that it's all case dependent on what you're looking at.
Right. I can agree with that. And so then thinking about it more, again, going into the story further into, again, this whole thing is leading to, again, why the campaign matters to the player. Is that some games give us exactly what we want or what we expect. Halo 4 was basically what I expected. Mm-hmm. Not in entirety, but I mean, it did a bunch. It made a bunch of weird moves. It took the Forerunners and then, okay, not the Forerunners. Oh, what the hell are they? Andrew, what are the enemies called in Halo 4? Are they they're not technically Forerunners.
Well, it depends on what you're looking at. The main villain is Forerunner, but
I mean they kind of are, but the Forerunners,
the sentient machines are still Forerunner technology.
They're called.
Give me a second.
They're called some other thing.
Hold on.
God, we are gonna get so much shit for failing to think of this.
Yeah,
word.
I know. I planned pretty well, but I didn't plan everything. But just my point about it is that, like, it took the Forerunner tech, and throughout the Halo series, it was the stuff of legend. The rings were all basically all we had, and occasionally some other things. And then suddenly it was out in the open like it was a regular thing. It went from this cool dramatic, talk about the lore of the thing, the mysticism, the magic behind it, just went, oh look, it's another thing you shoot. Good. Like
yes and no. I think that the whole. I think that 343 took a smart path with not introducing something completely unheard of in the series. The Forerunners were always this benevolent thing that we never fully knew, but I mean, we always wanted to know.
I agree.
We always heard of it, and then they explored into it, gave it their own twist. So I agree with you, and I both disagree in saying that I think it was a smart choice. I think it was well done to an extent. I think that in Halo 5, or not think, I hope in Halo 5 and eventual 6, which it's going to happen.
Oh, got it.
What?
It's
What was the word?
The Didact and Prometheans.
God.
Prometheans. The Prometheans.
God, unleash your hatred towards us for failing to think of the word Promethean.
There we go, Promethean. Forgot
Oh my
that.
God!
But
Thank you, Andrew.
But still, it's all Forerunner tech, and again, the fact that it got brought up so quickly. But anyway, you were saying in Halo 6, Halo 5, 6.
Halo 6. God, where are we talking about 6? God dang. But what's it called? For Halo 5 and 6, I'm hoping they dive into it more, so it doesn't seem just like random thing that we're all accepting because we're supposed to. But I mean, it's a whole lore to it that we didn't know, and we're glad for now knowing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So in Halo 4, I think they opened a box that's like, okay, we're gonna explore this further because I mean, obviously they left it so open-ended. So many people still died. Spoiler alert! But
Yeah,
if
right.
you haven't completed by now, seriously. But I mean, it's just a whole world that I agree with them taking.
Right.
I don't know if you share
okay.
that thought.
No, that's fair. I can see that. Like, I mean, it's the way they're going, so I'm not gonna run against the grain on it. I have no control over that.
Yeah, right.
So there's that. So there's games that, for the most part, give us exactly what we want or what we expect. Others bring us familiar experiences, but with new interpretations. I would say for the most part, that's what Destiny is. It plays like Halo with MMO and RPG elements that are renamed that are renamed for first-person shooters and their particular mechanics and how things work in story. And a select few give us something that we never knew that we wanted. The Last of Us. I didn't know I didn't know how hard that game was going to hit me. I knew I wanted it. I bought a PS3 for The Last of Us a year before it came out. That's how much faith I had in it. I was willing to drop that money to get it.
God, if you ever want to talk about a perfect game, which we will.
See, I still wouldn't describe it as perfect. It still has. I don't think I don't believe in anything being perfect.
We'll discuss that another time. But I mean, if there is, I'll agree. There's not such a thing as perfect, but
we'll talk about this later.
just a little bit.
So there's that. And with that, I thought about things like the sort of formulas that come with games. Like some things they give you what you expected, but then a bunch of other things you didn't expect, which is always good. That's what you want. You don't want a game going, well, I saw all that coming.
Right.
And then other things like how the game itself will play out to you as the user. Something that I like to say is, high repetition, high shelf life. Tetris. Absolutely. We're not sick of Tetris. It's still relevant. Everybody still plays that.
They're still
shit
making
occasionally.
remakes of it. They're adding new spins to it, which are oddly enough like creative and like add depth to the game.
Like first person Tetris. You ever seen that?
That's a thing?
The first person Tetris means when you rotate a piece, the whole screen rotates.
No shit.
It's so fucked. And then there's invisible Tetris where all the pieces are invisible except for the ghost minnow. The minnow style, so that you can see is where the piece drops. I know it exists. A friend of mine played Johnny.
Crap.
Johnny plays first person
I thought I sucked at
Tetris and invisible Tetris.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah, no, there are whole new levels. So there's that. There's high variation, a slow burn.
Wait, randomly, did you guys see Johnny on the news
No.
for hot dogs?
No.
Him and Smitty, when the rain stopped, we were waiting at hot dogs on Friday morning. They pulled out a generator, a TV, and an Xbox.
I saw that. I saw Carlos's
I saw that
picture.
picture. I saw Carlos's picture.
Redonk.
Yeah.
Redonk.
I can't believe that was.
Talk
an actual
about video
thing.
games on the go.
I
Seriously.
was reading Chicago Mag. And
Mobile gaming.
They got mentioned in it.
That's redonk.
Serious? Wow.
That's great. So something with high variation, a slow burn play, and occasional replay value. Occasional, I mean like once every 2 years. for me at least, would be Mass Effect.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Extremely high variation for how the types of decisions you make. There are a lot of
And I
of
love
reasons to play
gameplay
it.
decisions like that, where it leaves you and I don't know about you, but like right after I finished Mass Effect, or I think it really hit me at Mass Effect 2, where it was okay, as soon as I finished it, I wanted to know what the other decisions would you know create.
Yes.
And that creates so much replay value in the sense that, okay, it's not rehash multiplayer that we're going to use over and over and over and over. It's the same game, but I mean, you're
different.
You're consciously making different decisions.
Right, and that's great.
Right, and I love that. I love that.
That'll lead to my point about what good games need in just a sec. But thinking about this, despite the fact that Tetris and Mass Effect are only the same in that they're both video games, it's that there is no one formula for success.
Right.
That's something I always keep in mind, because I don't like seeing are when just the stupidest people make these weird comments about how one game isn't like another game. It's not as good as another game. And I'm like...
That's the first thing people will do instinctually. It's okay, a new game comes out, it's the next, insert blank here. And it's like, you compare it to other things, and you shouldn't.
Well, you can compare, but you shouldn't uphold the same standards. It's not fair.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
A lot of indie games are, inspired off of older games, and they're good in their own right, a lot of them. And, I know I went to an indie gaming festival recently, and it was really cool to see.
What was that? What was the festival?
It was a friend of a friend runs the entire thing, and she rented out an entire building. And
what was it called?
Oh my God.
Man, you went, you don't know.
Perfect time to throw in a plug, but, God. I can't remember. I will think of it though. But
that's why it's indie.
It has no name.
Oh God.
It's just called Meta.
It didn't have a title. It was just we just grabbed people off the street.
Hey, give us money. Why? Video games. Whoa.
Anyway, what the fuck was my point? God damn it, Robert.
I don't know what your point was, but I'm gonna move on.
No, I know my point.
It's dick.
It's oh man. What's it called? Shut up.
You already forgot.
Oh God. But no, my point is that okay, you can be inspired, but then there's so many individual developers out there that just come with something out of the blue, and it not only deserves respect, but I mean it shouldn't be automatically compared to something that it's not even like in order to be successful. I mean, you don't know how many or I'm pretty sure you do know how many game reviews are out there where it's like they'll give a 9.5 to an 8-bit game.
Sure.
I think FTL is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Where it's something that came out of the blue, and it's not like we haven't heard of space ship management games before, but it took a completely different spin and it was its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and that was a highly rated game. And then you have, games that are, not, they're inspired off of other things, but they're the same shit we're used to. And then, it gets low reviews. So it's like,
it's
balance.
What I mean?
Yeah, it's balance. Exactly. And
it's balance.
Right.
So with that in mind about what makes game work, to me, I came up with 4 things that a game needs to do. It needs to work, make sense, have replay value, and empower the player.
Okay.
Because if you don't have all those things, it just will fall apart. Like
Okay.
if you don't feel like your actions matter, why do you keep playing? Like if Destiny's fun, but out of mechanics and out of like killing stuff and getting gear.
define action, because I mean we keep replaying Tetris.
I'm saying this applies to like the higher level stuff. Like Tetris isn't
the latest gen stuff, or are you talking about
right
more
like
complex games?
Games that involve like you feeling like your actions make a difference. That's what I mean by empowerment.
Okay.
And even then, Tetris is direct with that. Every action you make is you.
Okay.
Every action you make matters.
Okay, I gotcha.
And that's why it's like you can only hate yourself for fucking up in the game. You can't blame Tetris for screwing you over. You fucked up.
I gotcha.
You made a bad. You didn't build left to right or whatever.
Another perfect example. Remember when I showed you the Mega Man sequelitis?
Yeah,
about
yeah,
how
yeah,
we
yeah,
compared,
yeah. Right.
that's a perfect example. Mega Man, it was structured so that it teaches the player through gameplay and not with annoying info boxes of how to jump and run and, fucking shoot things. Lemons. Lemons. But...
Right, again, you learn as a player to
right.
be... It empowers you to learn, and you feel like you're getting stuff done.
And the quote in there that I completely agree with, it's, the structure of the game should be, it's your fault that you failed, not the game developers.
The game's fault.
Right, it's not the game's fault, and that's a good game. It's teaching you, and it's not its fault. It's not structurally bad or unsound.
Right.
So.
No, I agree. And the bottom line that I came up with that is all this can be done without a perfect story, but it helps to have one.
It does. It's a good thing to have.
So that's that. And a good story will, and these are the 4 things that I came up with.
What's with you in 4 things?
I don't know. It's just kind of how it played out.
Do you have a 4th phase that I'm unaware of?
No.
Okay.
Avengers Secret Phase 4.
God damn it.
A good story will establish the rules of the universe, preferably by showing and not just telling. They will establish the rules of the universe and abide by their own rules. There are so many movies.
For those, obviously nobody could see his computer screen. He has that underlined, italic, and bolded.
I get serious with my annotation.
When you have all 3 of the BIU, you are fucking serious.
I'm serious and abide by your rules.
Hell yeah.
So there's that. Give your characters in which you actually remember their fucking names. I cannot tell you how many games I played. Like, I don't expect everyone to remember every character's game name that you remember ever, but like if you just finished the campaign and you can't name every person that mattered in that game, if you can't name like 4 people, there's something wrong. Either like
right.
It could be you're not paying attention, which I hope is not the case, but like let's say under the assumption that you are and you gave a shit but you can't name anybody, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something wrong with that. Give you a logical arc. A good game will give you a logical arc, both in or not both is for 2, including in exposition, the development and conclusion of the story, not just in action but also for characters. That somewhat ties in with following your own rules, establishing and following your own rules, but occasionally something in a game just will feel way out of place, and that's because it seems illogical unto itself, and you really gotta maintain that meta status. You gotta do what the game calls for, and occasionally just crap gets stupid, and sometimes game sequels get shitty because they don't follow that.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Only sometimes.
Sometimes.
And lastly, if the game really does matter, it'll make you feel something. It'll make you think in some aspect or another. And I know that's more
which
of a
I know
recent
many
motif,
gamers are scared of. Thinking.
Yeah, no shit.
With my brain.
Oh God.
God, no.
Something that's more than
play video games to not think.
Right. No, yeah, I get that. And again, that's more of a recent decision with modern gaming, but I do feel like that
they treat the modern player like the idiot they are.
Well, no, but that's not. But
that
that
sounds harsh, but I mean, it's just like so many people prefer those types.
Well, but that's becoming less and less. Is my point. Is that we have games like Beyond Two Souls, The Last of Us. We're getting
fair point.
We're getting away from more and more away from that, which I'm okay with because we can still.
I'm all for that.
We can still have Halo and Destiny, but I
right.
do want things that make me feel like I'm going to cry.
Last of Us.
I don't even fucking. So, what made me fit all this together and how we're going to end this podcast and why this podcast exists is we fit into a game story when we can take away something different. Each individual takes away something different from the overall experience, and then we can learn more about it through discussion.
Very well said.
Thank you. I put this whole thing together, and that's the end of my notes. I put those notes together in about 20 minutes today.
Okay, now you don't have to rub it in. Oh, just in 20 minutes.
Well, I've thought about
give you a compliment. You're rubbing my fucking face.
I'm not. I ain't bragging.
You
I'm just
pretentious
saying,
dick.
Like I could go on forever about it, but that's what makes it ultimately. That's like. As much as I've tried to convince a handful of people here and there throughout my life about like why video games matter or whatever, like ultimately I care about the fact that if we can talk this much about video games and like actually about it in depth as much as people talk about movies, it's no different. It's no more or less a waste of time. It's the same. It's just the same. Yeah. And occasionally, again, a really good game will make me think about real life aspects. Again, like something like, again, I know I keep talking about it, but
it's
The Last of Us.
Perfect example.
It's a really good example about where certain games are going to go.
God, moral issues, stuff you can apply to your own life.
It's relatable. It has moral and ethical lines and blurred lines, and it's got several different relationship dynamics. And
put simply, it doesn't write it out for you in crayon. It writes it in nice extensive cursive,
and then occasionally in blood with broken glass.
Don't even. God.
Feels. So that's it. That's how I'm gonna.
I think that's a good place to stop. Yeah.
I thought so. Thank you, everybody, and anybody who was listening.
Clearly, he didn't work on the outro.
This first rebooted episode of the whole ball of wax. I'm gonna call it the WBX, like radio station for sure. WBX.
Okay, that I like. I like the sound of that.
WBX. Only gonna
we'll stick with that for now.
For now. So yeah, thank you for listening. Keep on listening. There'll be more stuff, and it won't always be about video games. If you made it this far for all of an hour and 20 minutes or whatever ungodly amount of time,
look forward
it's been.
to our
Thanks
beer
for
episodes.
listening for episodes about beer, politics, books, movies, music,
and more beer.
And I don't know. I eventually want to make an episode about the different types of poop that you can have. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Between color, consistency, size, and
I don't look forward to that episode.
Well, you don't got to be here for it. So, you don't got to be here for the poop episode. Thank you for listening. I'm Andrew Sellers.
And I'm Daniel Blazik.
Betty.